It is now mid-July, and Marge and I decided to go up and take a look at the channel into Tillamook Bay and also take a look at Cape Meares Lighthouse. And here's the Coast Guard Tower. We're up here at Garibaldi at the North Jetty on Tillamook Bay, and we're going to go out and look. I didn't bring my fish poles today. I guess I forgot to throw them in. There's a nice parking area where you can park and walk out on the jetty and go fishing here. And also there's plenty of beach on the other side. This jetty is built of some monstrous big rocks. Each rock was marked and weighed before it was put down here. And so there's some of the marks on those huge boulders. They have to constantly keep repairing this jetty because the ocean storms really raise havoc with it. This part here looks like it's been repaired since we were just here. Right here is one of the spots where the ocean breaches the jetty and washes it out, and it looks like they've repaired it within the last year or so. The cross right here must be a memorial to some of the fishermen that were lost out here, and throughout the years I've known numerous ones that have been lost at sea right out over the bar here. Looks like there's no traffic at all going over the bar today. That is boat traffic, and I don't know the reason for that. It looks like it maybe isn't that terribly rough out there today, and there's no wind. It does look like it's too rough right on the bar there today. So that's probably the reason there's no boat traffic out here. That'd be too rough to go over. And it's breaking over on this side too, so that's the reason no one's out there. And then on the other side of the jetty, people are enjoying themselves playing on the beach and walking on the beach. And there's a little fog hanging over, you can barely see Twin Rocks. Down on the other side of the South Jetty, we can see the Three Arch Rocks and Pyramid Rocks and Cape Meares off that point. Looks like the drill holes in the big rock where they've drilled it probably blasted it loose from the quarry, wherever the quarry is. This big old boulder's been drilled and blasted as well. The tide is on the way out now and almost a low tide. We can see a lot of weeds and the mud flats showing up as we move out, and we can see the fishing village of Garibaldi shining in the ebbing bay. We travel along Highway 101 around Tillamook Bay, and we can see a few of the headlands starting to show up as we move around toward the town of Tillamook. Tillamook Bay is reasonably calm today as we move clear around to the other side of Tillamook Bay. Through the 1970s, I was a park ranger, and Cape Meares was one of the parks I helped take care of. There have been a lot of things put up and a lot of changes made since I once worked here. They've put up a lot of signs, information signs about the birds and things. If you're wondering where the birds all are now, they're pretty busy nesting, so you won't see a lot around right now. And then they go to sea for a while. The construction of Cape Meares Lighthouse was started in 1889 after building a wagon trail to it. It was finished in November of the same year.
The Cape is named for the 18th century British naval officer, trader, and explorer John Meares. The lighthouse that was built in 1889 was commissioned on January 1st, 1890. The tower stands 38 feet high and is the shortest lighthouse in Oregon.
There were living facilities for the lighthouse keepers here. There was 3 lighthouse keepers on duty most all the time, because this light had to be polished and cleaned and maintained. There, to this day, there is a kind of a steep little trail going down to the lighthouse, which is pretty nice, and there are a few spots where you can look out over the sea and see some of the favorite nesting spots of the seabirds. And there it is, the light standing tall, as it always has. The light was perched on a point about 200 feet above the sea, so it didn't need to be extremely tall. They have now built a replica of the little house that used to be next to the lighthouse, and they've turned it into a gift shop where you can go in and buy souvenirs, and also in certain times you can go on a tour and actually see that wonderful old lens that was shipped around the Horn and hand ground in Paris, France. Taking care of the lighthouse was one of my major things that I liked to do while I was a park ranger, and we tried in the 70s to get it to where people could go for a tour there, but had no luck. In about 1978 or sometime near then, I forget just when, it was vandalized very badly and has been vandalized several times since. There were several people waiting in line to go on a tour, so I decided to add myself to it and go on a tour as well. Even though I've been there many times, I'll never turn down a chance to go on a tour of this wonderful old antique of a bygone era of shipping. I have another video on my site, if you want to look it up, back several years ago, that shows Cape Meares Lighthouse when it was needing to be repaired. The tour guide was a volunteer, but he did an excellent job of telling us about the old lighthouse. So we go up the winding little stairway, the spiral stairway, up to where we can see that lens. The lens was hand ground in Paris in about 1889 or 90 and hoisted up with a hand winch from a barge out at sea.
Visible 22 miles, so it didn't need to be any taller. And this is the light pattern that threw up, light signature.
Oh, nice.
Right? So if you saw this light signature off the coast, you could look in your book and say, okay, that's Cape Meares off Tillamook, Oregon. And when they build lighthouses, they always build them so you can see 2 of them at once. So you would look forward to the next one or back to the last one you came by, which you already know what it was. Anyway, you identify that one, and the distance between the two lighthouses never changes, right? It's a given. So once you have that given distance, you can use trigonometry to find out exactly where you are on the face of the earth. How far out, how far north, south, the whole bit. So that's how they operated their lighthouse idea. And every lighthouse has its own light signature. So they're all listed in there.
I don't understand a light signature, just like a sequence?
Well, yeah, like the next one up might just have a white light that flashed 2 seconds on, 4 seconds off, 2 seconds on.
Okay.
You know, who knows how long they were making clocks before they got into the lighthouse biz. But they had the mechanism and the timing part of this all figured out. So it was a real good fit for them. So
That makes sense.
So they said this thing weighs more than a ton from here up. And these are brass wheels, and being clock builders, they knew that anything that's supposed to keep time forever had to have a part that sacrificed itself to the mechanism. That's these. So these are brass wheels, and they were meant to wear out every 3 to 4 years. They would wear down far enough that the gears would become mismatched in the back. They would raise this thing up and replace all 10 of these wheels. They could have used a harder material, but if you wore grooves in this, you're done, right? Because you could never get it lined up again. Or you'd have to get a little bit bigger wheel, and that's just impractical. So LeCoultre being clock builders knew that part of it had to sacrifice itself, and that's this on this particular unit. But they said this thing was so well built that if some mechanism down here failed, they could disengage the gear back and turn this with one hand, and it would just make a revolution every 4 minutes, because that was the light pattern for this lighthouse. But it ran off of a great big weight. It was a 200-pound lead weight that went down through a hole underneath there. This is a leftover motor mount from when they electrified it in 1934. They had a generator, kerosene generator, and they made their own electricity, and they electrified this thing, put a little half-horse motor there, got rid of that weight system, and put a light bulb in that stanchion right there. And the light bulb got stolen along with everything else in here that wasn't tied down. All 4 glass panels got stolen. And then in the 60s, a couple 20-somethings drove down the hill, shot holes in the place. So that prism up there, if you can see it, is broken. And they shot those out. And those are near irreplaceable, but they have found a company in India that's going to make it for them. And it's a $300,000 venture to replace these curved, the prisms that are in there are irreplaceable. They're all handmade curved prisms made in France, and they're made to do this. So they shot some out. So the ones that are replaceable don't have to do this exactly, you know. They just need to take up the space and look right.
So it looks right, don't have to necessarily function.
Yeah, so that contribution box at the end, at the bottom of the stairs is Friends of Cape Meares, and they're desperately trying to make enough money to replace the state parks. Is going to kick in a good share of them. That went up to a bowl with 5 concentric wicks that had to be trimmed a particular way every night. So an hour before dark, somebody would come in here, clean both sides of the lenses, trim the wicks, fill the kerosene, crank the weight up, light it off, turn the weight loose, go weight downstairs. Completely took all the vegetation off of that cape so that you could see this place at all times, in case of fire or something.
Liability suits.
You cannot see that, yeah.
So, and they said it's heading for one of these pieces of glass, and if it breaks that glass, that's an $80,000 piece of glass.
Yeah.
Because it's just irreplaceable. So,
Yeah, look at there's glass in the walkway.
Well, the reason is that's the only light that was provided them while they were in here. So we sure appreciate you guys coming.
Well, thank you very much.
You're
That
welcome.
was very interesting.
All right.
I used to work here. I was a park ranger.
Oh, really? Time RVers now, so we're doing the snowbird thing. We go down to Arizona in the winter and come back up here and volunteer for state park in the summer. And
Oh, that's good. Yeah, the state parks has completely changed since I worked here.
oh, I imagine.
I worked here till about 1979.
Shit, you were done by the time I graduated high school.
Oh,
You must be old as hell.
Well, I'm 85. We go on up, take the short trail up to see the octopus tree. This is a very unique shaped tree, and it's debated on how it got its shape. Some think maybe it was due to man. The Indians used to pull a limb back on a tree and stake it to the ground to make a unique shape, to mark a trail or something. So it's unknown how this tree got its shape, or it could have been just the forces of nature. The wind whips and blows real hard here at times, but native man has been known to mark trails by bending down trees, so there is a possibility. Yes.
Get up close with me, and I'll say, octopus tree. The forces that shape this unique Sitka spruce have been debated for many years. Whether natural events or possibly Native Americans were the cause remains a mystery. The tree measures more than 46 feet in circumference and has no central trunk. Instead, limbs extend horizontally from the base as much.
The three arch rocks that are sitting out at sea right off Cape Meares, and Oceanside is right up behind that point. And then Cape Lookout juts its 2.5 miles at sea down there. During World War II, Cape Meares was a military base. They at one time had a radar station here, and also they had gunners that had little foxholes dug where they would go down, sit down and watch the beach. They were feared that a Japanese invasion might happen here on the beach. So they had big, powerful 50 caliber machine guns set here. We met some people from Germany that were here, and so we decided to go take a look at where these foxholes once were. And he's standing in right where one was, and it was trained. They could train a 50 caliber machine gun on the beach right down below.
Or maybe the hole was there.
It could be,
because
yeah.
this tree could be rather 50 years old.
Yeah, and then they could guard that beach with big heavy machine guns here, which the 50 caliber shoot that far real easy.
That's what the Germans tried when the D-Day was.
And you're from Germany then?
Yes, we are from Stuttgart.
Yeah, okay. Well,
In
great.
Baden-Württemberg.
Yeah, and this was what they called a machine gun nest here, where they had a big heavy machine gun, and they would watch that beach there for somebody invading.
But never.
There was never an invasion by the Japanese, but some claim that there was a Japanese submarine sunk off Cape Lookout. We go by some of the old military. I think this may have been a water tank for the military base, but there's the remains of some of the old radar station hid back in the trees. There's several concrete buildings back there. Now we're going to go down to Cape Lookout Park, and I need to get a parking permit for some of the places in the state park where they charge you to park in their day use areas. We drive down the narrow little tree-lined roadway till we come to the registration booth where we will purchase our permit. We're going to get one that's good for a year because we always like to go to some of the day use areas and go to the beach and look over some of the history and different parts of the day use. This road is very familiar to me. For about 9 years, I made this trip down here twice a day because I worked right in this area right here, and the shop was where we'd meet of a morning, and then the registration booth, which is ahead of us, is where I would end up working part of the time. They have a bunch of new signs and new ways to get in here, but it's still basically the way I remembered it. There's usually always a line of people in the afternoon waiting to get in, although the park area is full, but that's probably mainly reservations, and people are coming in now to pick up their reservation. We purchase our yearly permit and go down and take a look at the picnic area to see if anything's changed. The sea is gradually stealing part of this picnic area, but the little picnic shelter still stands, but not as much grass and picnic area as there once was due to the work of the sea. We circle around the parking lot, and then it's time. We still have our property over about 8 or 9 miles from Cape Lookout Park, so every day, twice a day, I'd have to go over the Cape, once going and once coming, but I always enjoyed it because you could see out at sea, although now the trees have grown up to where you can't see out, but just occasionally, but still it's a neat drive. Winding up over Cape Lookout, past Cape Lookout Trail parking lot, and then down the other side, and even through some sand dunes down on the other side.